Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Life with Zach. Today I'm going to talk about the vehicle behind me, the Mustang Mach-E, which interestingly takes its name from a classic Ford car that you'll recognize, the Mustang Mach 1. However, that and the Mustang emblem on the front are probably the only two things similar between that and the current Mach-E. Now, this is an all-electric crossover that starts at about 42,000 MSRP and actually was released late last year. So I'm going to bring you five things that I've learned about the Mach-E while doing research on it, and maybe a bonus one on kind of how I personally feel about it. So the first one is one of the most important things dealing with any electric vehicle is the range. What is the range of the Mustang Mach-E? So right now, Ford's reporting that the range with the extended um, batteries is 305 miles. However, if you go with the all-wheel version, that drops it down to about 270. Now, that's at 480 horsepower. That'll take you from 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. And it averages about 90 electric miles per gallon, if we're going to call it that, according to the EPA. Now, really, in my opinion, this is probably a little low, especially compared to like the Ford Lightning and things that as a pickup truck are getting about the same distance, especially if you're factoring in the all-wheel drive. Now, if you're just going with the standard, that range is actually pretty good, but I was rather disappointed by the fact that the 270 with the all-wheel drive was the only range that you get. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the all-wheel drive and kind of the SUV ness of this vehicle. But I think to me, if Ford was going to design a SUV that's all-wheel drive, that's electric, people should expect it to have a little bit longer range and should probably expect it to have that in an all-wheel drive version, because if you're going in an SUV, that's probably one of the things that you're looking for. The second thing that I think people look for in terms of an electric vehicle is the charging. Okay. So the charging will get you 30 miles per night with a standard 120 volt charger. Okay. So, or outlet. So if you're plugged in at your house, expect to get 30 miles per night. Okay. That's what I was able to find on my research. Now you're going to get 80% more, up to 80% charge, okay, overnight if you upgrade to the 240 volt charge. So again, with overnight, Ford's saying that you will get to 80% charge. Now, every model does have the fast charge on it. So you can expect if you go to a charging station, depending on the model, things like that, that you could probably do 15 to 20 minutes to get to that 80%. Because as we've known and kind of talked about a little bit, and the research shows it takes just as long to get from 0 to 80% as it does to get from 80% to 100. So again, about 15 minutes probably, with one of your typical fast chargers that you see along the road. But at your house, if you have a standard plug, standard charger, you're going to get 30 miles at night, which is probably what any individual is going to drive on a normal day, unless you've got a pretty long commute. 30 miles overnight is going to get you what you need, which I actually like that. I think that's a good um, amount of charge to get, like for me or for somebody else who has a commute that's about that, that's perfect. To be able to upgrade that 80%, to get the 80% overnight with a 240, it would be worth it if you're traveling longer for a commute or something. And I think that's actually pretty impressive that Ford is really saying, yes, you can go really the full range on a commute or something, and then still be able to charge it up overnight and do it again the next day. So I think that's well within what someone should expect from an electric vehicle, is that with an upgraded electric, that you're going to be able to basically recharge a car from 0 to the optimal 80% every night. Okay. So the third thing I want to talk about is the cargo space, because if anyone has actually driven an actual Mustang, okay, you know that cargo space is limited. And when I'm talking about cargo space, I'm talking about the cumulative space with the trunks, the hatchbacks, inside the vehicle, um, seating space, all that, um, that I think is really what we're talking about here in terms of cargo space. So what Ford has done is they've actually taken the batteries and put them under the seats so that they can maximize space inside the vehicle and inside the cargo areas. Okay. Um, Everything is digital inside. So you've got really kind of the streamlined, um, gauges and everything. So streamlined, touchscreen and all that in there. So that really maximizes the space you have inside the vehicle. What they're saying is that you're going to have the vehicle um, has 29 cubic feet of storage behind the rear seats. Okay, so that's where your typical trunk. This is kind of a hatchback, I guess we could call it that, is located. So that's actually pretty good storage, especially compared to a typical Mustang. All right. Um, and also, because it doesn't have the engine, it has the frunk, which I think is just a cool term to use. I don't know if that's the official one. I've seen that places, but I'm going to use it because I like the word frunk. And that's 4.8 cubic feet of storage. All right. So, and that can also be used as like a cooler or something filled with ice. I even saw on one of the promotional pictures that people set like a tray on there and were eating this like giant, you know, buffet of nachos or something above it. So that front is really versatile. It's designed to be a heavy duty cargo space that could be cleaned out pretty easily. Again, to use as a cooler or a buffet, I guess, if you want to call it that, while your more traditional cargo space is in the rear. I think both of those combined together, that is really good even for an SUV. So I don't think you'll have any issues with that. All right, the fourth thing I wanted to talk about is safety, okay? Because I think, especially with other model electric vehicles that have come out, you have this expectation that an electric vehicle, because it is modern technology, it's a brand new vehicle, is going to have a lot of new safety features. Now, this is not going to get into like collision safety and how well does it stand in a crash, but this is going to talk about three um, things that I think are really on the cutting edge that we see in terms of safety features. So the first one the Mustang has is the forward collision warning. Okay, so this is designed that if you are approaching something too fast from the front, it's going to notify you and take action to slow the vehicle down to keep you safe. It also has the blind spot monitoring on either side. It's going to notify you if you try to merge over on someone, and the lane departure. Okay, with the lane departure prevents you from drifting off the side of the road or drifting into the middle of the road. Okay, because it picks up actually where the lines are for your lane and keeps you from doing that. So that's really good to keep people who might drift off to sleep or something or get distracted while driving and drift over into another line. So those are three safety features I think are really being typical on new electric vehicles and a lot of other models, but I think there's something that drivers are expecting in electric vehicles, and Ford provides that here in the Mustang Mach-E. So the fifth thing, and I think this is maybe the biggest piece of it, is what type of vehicle is this? Um, and this is maybe a little bit of a departure from some of the other four things that we talked about, but I think it's important to really think about what type of vehicle we're looking at with the Mustang Mach-E. Okay, so the Mustang, typically you consider a sports car, you consider, something that's cool and classic looking and has speed, um, and all those things. This is not that type of vehicle, okay? That type of vehicle shares a name with this, but the Mach-E is not that type of vehicle. Instead, this is a crossover. This is more of an SUV, okay? And if you look at this vehicle and compare it to a Mustang sports car, you're going to be very disappointed. I mean, I'm not talking about in terms of storage or even really speed, because I think the speed and the acceleration stuff are pretty good. But just in terms of the looks, in terms of the vehicle that you want, in terms of what you're going for, if you're comparing this to a Mustang sports car, this is not it. Okay. However, if you're comparing this to another SUV type crossover, all right, this is a vehicle that you're definitely going to want to take a look at because I think it has some exceptional qualities for an SUV. You know, we talked about safety, we talked about the storage capacity, we talked about the batteries, we talked about the charging. Um, and I think just the looks of it, if you're looking at it as an SUV, um, makes it really something you would consider, okay? Because to be honest, and here's the bonus personal opinion, when I first looked at this, I didn't pay much attention to it because I was like, what's a Mustang that looks like this? You know, it really is an SUV. It really isn't something that I was expecting. And I was like, why is Ford trying to replace the Mustang with this? And of course, I don't know Ford's plans, but I don't think they're trying to replace the Mustang sports car with this. This is basically just an adaptation of the name for really what is a new type of vehicle in the Ford lineup. Okay. So this is really something that's, I'm not going to say it's completely new, but it's maybe more related to some of the other SUVs that they have out. Um, I guess maybe a crossover between a Mustang and an Escape and an Edge, kind of all rolled into one. So really, this is a whole new type of vehicle in the Ford fleet. It's an all-electric vehicle. You know, we've talked about things that all-electric vehicle can save you in terms of gas, in terms of maintenance. Um, and I think that the Mustang Mach-E really brings some good features to the table in terms of the cargo space, the range and everything. Again, the only thing I was kind of disappointed with was the all-wheel drive range only being 270 miles because if you live where I live in an area that has snow and other inclement weather, you're going to want to rely on that all-wheel drive. Okay, and it's not something you can turn on and off. It's something that's on all the time. So if you have to opt for that because you may need it every once in a while, it's dramatically reducing your range and your ability because I think that 300 miles for me is really kind of a cutoff in terms of what I want because a typical trip, you know, a typical 4 hour drive is just under 300 miles. And I'd like to be able to do that without um, a charge. Okay. And I think that that would make me really question the Mustang Mach-E. You know, I really like all the other features and stuff. Um, it would probably be a car I would end up saying that I would buy if I was looking for something like this, but it would make me really question it in terms of only having that 270-mile-an-hour range. But again, the other stuff that I like, the safety features are all there. Um, the storage is all there. You know, you've got power, you've got capacity in your engine. Again, 0 to 60 in around 6 seconds is pretty good. Or excuse me, 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds is pretty good. 480 horsepower, that's impressive. Um, for this type of electric vehicle, the range, eh, but the charging is fast. You know, if you're looking for something you can commute with, something you can charge with overnight, this has it. So hope you enjoyed this review of the Mustang Mach-E, where we talked about 5 pieces of that vehicle, 5 um, aspects to it. We'll try to share some more later as I do some more research and figure out some more stuff about it and some other vehicles. Be sure to check out my channel. I've talked about the Lightning now, the Maverick, um, and now the Mustang Mach-E. Leave any comments or let me know what you think. And subscribe. I hope to see you soon. Have a great day.